to the Veterinary Financial Podcast, where we discuss financial freedom and professional success. I'm Meredith Jones, a veterinarian and financial planner for vets. Today, we're talking about something that I think doesn't get enough attention in financial conversations, especially in our profession. Not how to optimize your money, not how to do more, but how to burnout-proof your finances. If your financial setup requires you to be at 100% capacity all the time, it's fragile. And as a vet, you know how quickly things can go sideways. Your schedule changes at the last minute. You pick up extra shifts because somebody quit. You stay late because a case can't be handed off yet. You go through stretches where you're emotionally wiped, not just tired. Financial advice that assumes consistent energy and perfect follow-through and unlimited decision-making capacity, it just doesn't match our reality in veterinary medicine. So today I want to talk about three things. One is your savings as a mental health tool. Two is reducing financial decision fatigue. Three, designing finances around sustainability, not hustle. And then I want to end with something that's uncomfortable for a lot of high-achieving vets, giving yourself some grace for a change. All right, let's start with number one. Emergency funds are mental health tools. So we usually talk about emergency funds like they're just math. 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. End of discussion, right? But for veterinarians, emergency funds do something much more important. They reduce panic and anxiety. If you've ever stayed in a job longer than you should have because you couldn't afford a gap in income, or said yes to extra shifts while already exhausted because the money felt like it wasn't optional, or ignored physical or emotional warning signs because taking time off felt financially impossible, that's not a budgeting problem. That's a lack of margin problem, a lack of buffer issue. And so an emergency fund is what allows you to say, okay, I can walk away from this situation if I need to, or I can take time off if I'm not okay, or I don't have to solve this tonight. And that psychological safety really matters. I've worked with vets who technically had enough income, but they didn't have enough cash that was accessible, and everything was allocated. So they had their loan payments, they were doing their investing, contributing to retirement, all good things, right? And some of them had aggressive savings goals. On paper, they looked really responsible, but in real life, they felt like they were trapped. Burnout-proofing your finances means being honest about how much safety you actually need to feel comfortable, not how much you think you should need. Okay, number two, reduce financial decision fatigue. So this is a big one for veterinarians because vet med is already decision heavy, right? You make hundreds of micro decisions every single shift. You manage risk, uncertainty, client emotions, staff dynamics, and your finances should not require the same level of cognitive load as your job does. So if you're constantly asking yourself, should I invest this money or should I save it? Should I throw more at my debt this month? Am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? That mental churn adds up. And at the end of a shift, it can be taxing just figuring out what you're going to have for dinner, right? One of the most practical roles of a financial planner is helping you decide ahead of time how money should flow so you're not redeciding the same things when you're already really tired from work. That's one of the reasons we do what we do. It's about reducing the number of high-stakes decisions that you're carrying. And so that's something that we help our clients with. Burnout-proofing means automating the boring, repeatable decisions with your money. Things like automatic transfers to savings right after you get paid, automatic student loan payments on a plan you've already decided on that you feel confident about, automated investing at a level that feels sustainable, not heroic. And this is especially important for vets who have variable income, which is most vets, or those who do relief work. Automation is about conserving your limited decision-making capacity for things that actually matter. If you're automating up front, you've decided, okay, this is something that matters to me. You do the work up front, and then in your day-to-day, when there are other things that are more important, you've already made those decisions. So that's the way I'm thinking through this. If your financial system only works when you're motivated, focused, well-rested, it's going to fail during the exact seasons when you need it the most. Once you have some breathing room and fewer decisions to make day to day, the next question becomes bigger. What are you actually designing your finances for? That brings us to number 3, design for sustainability, not hustle. A lot of financial advice quietly assumes, okay, this pace is normal, just keep going. But veterinarians know better. We see what happens when our bodies and our minds are pushed past sustainable limits. We've lived it. A lot of us lived that during COVID, at least in the beginning. Burnout-proofing your finances means designing them around your real life, not an idealized version of you who never gets sick, never needs time off, never questions their career choices. And that might look like choosing a student loan strategy that leaves more monthly cash flow for some breathing room, even if it's not the fastest payoff. Investing consistently at a level you can maintain, even during more challenging years or years with a lot of change. Keeping fixed expenses lower so you have options if you need to cut back. This is where I see a lot of guilt and negative self-talk show up for vets. They tell themselves, okay, you should be able to handle this. You make good money. You should be doing more. But your finances don't need to impress anybody, and you don't need to get caught in the comparison trap with other people. Your finances need to support you. Optionality is a financial goal. Flexibility is a financial goal. Not feeling trapped, not being cornered is a financial goal. And automation is part of burnout prevention. So I want to come back to automation for a moment because it's one of the most underappreciated burnout prevention tools. When your money moves automatically, then you're not renegotiating with yourself every single month. You're not second guessing every decision that you're making with your finances. And you don't feel behind just because you're tired and you don't have time to deal with it because you've already made those decisions up front. Automation creates consistency without requiring consistent effort. And I want to end by talking about just giving yourself some grace with your finances. And this is the part that's hardest for many veterinarians. If this year, 2026, if you're not optimizing, if you're not maxing everything out, if you're choosing stability over speed, that doesn't mean you're failing. Veterinarians are trained to push through and to normalize stress and keep going even when things aren't okay. Burnout-proofing your finances is about pushing back against that instinct, at least a little bit. It's about building a system that still works when you're exhausted, grieving, burned out, questioning what's next, because those seasons aren't hypothetical. They're part of real life as a veterinarian. So to close this out, I'm a big believer that your financial plan should make your life easier, not heavier. If your money setup adds pressure instead of relief, that's not discipline, that's misalignment with your values. If you need help building something that actually fits your life, that's exactly what we do. Our mission is to help you take control of your finances and help you build the life you envision. If you'd like to see how financial planning can support your goals, visit allvetfinancial.com and click the Book Now button to schedule a free intro call with us. Until next time, take care and continue your path to financial success. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered individualized financial advice. If a specific investment is mentioned, it should not be considered a recommendation or endorsement to buy or sell the investment. All investments involve risk. Past performance does not guarantee future results. You are encouraged to seek the advice of a financial professional before implementing any investment strategies discussed. Yay, compliance!